But in general, the eviction interviews are a little bit different. They don't feel as, I think, important as they did on Channel 4. Now, it isn't Brian Dowling. I think he has done an incredible job, and I think week on week he's getting more and more into the role of being presenter, and it's almost like he doesn't really read auto cues now. He just does it a lot more naturally. But I was going to say that in general, what they have done with the staging for the eviction interviews really blows me away, because I know the show is going to be operated on a lower budget, and I think what they've done with the entranceway, the ramp that leads directly to the eviction interview pod, if you like, with that kind of James Bond bullet eye deal, it's exceptional.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it too. Saves them a hell of a lot of hassle going off and on the air as well, or driving around in a cart from studio to studio. So yeah, props.
Absolutely, they've done so much to make this series at least retain the visual quality and the staging quality that was, of course, such a huge part of Big Brother on Channel 4. But as I say, I'm not sure what it is, but there's something lacking in the evictions. I think the interviews have actually gone quite well. I think Brian Dowling has done a good job of kind of asking the questions. And another thing about him is, you know, he had Tara last Friday, who kind of instantly got annoyed about the fact that the little best bits that she had seen seemed to feature a lot of negative moments. Now, she jumped on that and said, well, you know, if that's all you've shown, but he actually stayed there and insisted to her, look, a lot more has been shown than that. You know, he doesn't back down from them.
Yeah, it's an awkward one. I think trying to defend what they're putting out, I suppose. And from, again, he's dealing with Tara Reid, who, you know, paranoid, I'm sure, is one word that you could put next to her in a dictionary. But I think he said it best when he said, you know, live TV, that's what you're dealing with, and it's instant reaction. You know, I'm sure she might have an hour or two after that might have chilled the beans a little bit, but for what it was and at the time. But I don't think he was in the wrong by any means. I would agree with you on that one.
Yeah, he's certainly told her, and he didn't let her get away with that, because she was almost in a sense getting the last word when she sat in that eviction seat and kind of said, well, you know, that's all you've shown to me, blah, blah, blah. And then he kind of had to leave quickly after that. But at least he got his little bit in there to kind of tell her, look, you know, this is not what was shown. A lot other stuff was shown. But you said there about how, you know, she probably chilled out. She did actually, because by the time she got the bit on the side, she was a little bit more happier and maybe kind of not as freaked out, not as paranoid. Because I'm sure leaving that environment...
Yeah, I was just going to say, initial shock of getting evicted, it's probably... You're trying to just get your grasp on reality coming out of the house. It's all a bit mishmashy. I'm sure she probably doesn't even remember sitting there.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny because I don't remember the interviews. I know they go off well, but there's something about them. They just kind of go right past you. I don't know what it is. It's almost like, you know, the questions are good. They ask things that, you know, are relevant. And I certainly think Brian seems a little bit less biased than Davina, at least what we've seen so far.
I think I know the answer to why that probably is, if it's this here. Maybe because we have 1 hour of a show, and once the eviction actually happens, you know you're not going to see any more house stuff, and your attention span might just go a little bit left and go, oh, they're out. I'm kind of half listening now for this interview.
Yeah, it is like that, isn't it? And of course, it's so true, because they did used to have that half-hour gap, and of course it would be an hour of highlights. We'd find out who was going to be out, and they wouldn't leave then for another half hour at least on TV time, and then that interview in a sense would be on its own in a half hour. So maybe it is that, actually. That's a very you know, interesting way of looking at it, that we only get an hour of actual eviction interview, staging and crowds, and you know, even the boos are kind of calmed down a bit, which I'm not too happy about. I used to enjoy hearing those boos. Of course, initially they started by kind of blasting the music as soon as the doors opened, but I noticed how they didn't do that for Pamela. They kind of left it a little bit sort of quiet so we could hear the boos first. You know, they're doing what they can. You know,
you remind me of something there, actually. I think a good choice of song for Paddy, even though the band suck, would be that Wolf Mother Woman. Do you know that song?
I do.
It's an awful song, but I think that would be a nice call for Paddy when he gets evicted.
I'm sure if Bit on the Side haven't used that yet, then they're missing a trick. And I'd forgotten about that, but when you remind me, wow, that would be perfect. That could be, again, his highlight package coming this Thursday when we see Celebrity Big Brother wind up, and it's been far too short. There hasn't been enough for me in terms of moments to actually kind of talk about. I mean, again, we sit here talking about it and we try and find anything that's worthy of discussion, but like I say, we could go for hours and hours if there was more meat, if you like, to actually go on about.
That's it.
But Stenchen says, Channel 5 are worried, otherwise they wouldn't bother with the Stooges, referring, I suppose, to the editors or producers now going on to Digital Spy to explain themselves. Lisa wants live feed. Hello to you. I think Tara was right to speak up because she knew what she said herself, because we don't know what way it is edited. If we had live feed, we would. It's funny because Tara was certainly in that bracket of disgruntled housemates, and she was only 5 minutes out the door, I mean, wait for a couple of days later when she actually sees it.
Yeah, it's true. It's unfortunate, but like you said, she had the balls to just call it out, live as and when it did happen. So fair play to her. I think many wouldn't. They might just look on it in shock. I think we've seen it in the past as well with many of those highlight videos where people are just like cringing.
Yeah.
What's her face comes to mind? Michelle Bass.
Right.
Yeah. Remember when that eviction happened, and she was like, "Oh boy."
And of course, they're still talking about her and Stu under the table. One of the most missed out moments, I believe, in the series history. Yes, we saw a shot of a table and some movement, but honestly, if I would have done everything I possibly could to get in there, get those damn tables down, and let's get that shot. But maybe they had to let it play out naturally. And of course, I think Michelle's still hearing about that years and years. I mean, Big Brother 5, of course, a long time ago. I still miss it. Live Feed Warrior having Pammy in the house this week is a sign of desperation. Of course, Pamela Anderson, I'm sure you were mentioning there. If it's correct, as in the Sunday Express magazine front cover, which I'm presuming is talking about Pamela Anderson in there. Of course, we talked a bit about that last week. Unhappy, CBB feels as though it's been on for ages. Channel 5 are getting desperate on Digital Spy. Soul Rebel says Michelle Bass will be singing on the spin-off show Bit on the Side. Another reason not to watch. I think she's singing last night. Is she on again tonight? Flamey says BB5, that was the best one ever. And again, we've mentioned how we could actually probably do 2-hour shows on each Big Brother and just go through it week by week.
It'll be interesting to see how things play out when we get to when this celebrity season ends and we go into next Friday's new deal. I wonder, will we stick with 1 or 2 hours? We might have to pull it back down to 1 hour as opposed to 2. Or will we go the other way and do 2 shows, 2 hours each?
Yeah, I
remains
suppose.
To be seen.
You mentioned last week what this would have been like during the Channel 4 run. If we'd been on here talking, and I thought about it this week, I'd say we would have had a hell of a lot more.
We'd probably have to be on here every bloody day.
Yeah. Actually, we originally thought that. We were actually going to be on maybe every single day, but we realised quickly that it just wasn't going to be possible to do that. There just isn't enough in the way of nuggets of information to keep you chatting in a sense. But certainly I know that, no matter what the subject is, at least with Big Brother, it's like a sport. You can chat about it. There are results.
That's true. And speaking of chatting, you have your voice too. If you want to call in, you're more than welcome. Big Brother Bytes Back is the Skype username. Anything Big Brother related. If you want to talk about the live feed, if you want to talk about the housemates, the upcoming series, Celebrity Big Brother, as long as it's Big Brother, we'll be happy to have you on board. So don't be shy. Big Brother Bytes Back is the Skype username. We are here and we